In this video, I'm going to go ahead and take the digital SAT test 1. I'm going to speed it up because that took just about 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours for me to complete the whole thing. So I put it on about 16 times speed. I ended up getting a 1560, which is not that bad on my first attempt, I would say. So I'm going to end up going through the rest of them, test 2, 3, and 4 over the coming weeks, and see if there are any significant changes in terms of the content of the exam, not just the format switching to digital. And of course, the timing and the presentation things changing as well. You'll learn a little bit about how the reading and writing has significantly changed. The math itself, it's math. It hasn't changed in about 3,000 years. So I'll be summing that up at, again, the midpoint and the end of the video. So stick around and feel free to pause the video as we go along and see if you can attempt some of the questions along with me. All right, break time. So what did we learn through that? So we learned that the test is heavily emphasizing logic and reasoning. There's no real emphasis on grammar anymore. They pretty much removed all of the nuts and bolts of grammar. They did that somewhat in 2016 with the redesign. They kind of tamped down the amount of grammar that you need to know, but they really cut it out on this one. There were hardly any out of those, what was it, 54 questions. Hardly any of them dealt with grammar. Um, there were some paragraph development questions that were really unique, and I kind of liked that. I think that's going to be a really useful skill for kids to be learning. Um, that we often see kids graduating out of high school without those skills. We're going to be seeing a lot of that in upcoming training, I'm sure, for the kids. We're going to want to have a heavy emphasis on that. We pretty much can delete the grammar section of our study guide. Good Lord, that kind of thing. So the tricks on the subject-verb agreement. So if you're being tested on a verb, for example, it's like is versus are. The only difference between is and are is number. Is singular, are is plural. So if you've got that on the menu, you just go back and check what the subject is and pick appropriately. They did that twice on this section. The other thing that I wrote there, pronoun and verb comma rules. Never put a comma in front of a verb unless you have an appositive. Never put a comma in front of a pronoun unless, again, you have an appositive or a non-essential phrase. They also did the thing where they put commas around a noun. At least they had a couple of options that would have done that. But you only put commas around a noun if that noun is referred to by a title. For example, President, comma, Joe Biden is pushing border policy this week. U.S. President Joe Biden. There is only one at any given time. There's only one U.S. president, so we don't need to say the name. We could just say the U.S. president is pushing border policy this week. We then, therefore, would put commas around the name. But if the title was not unique, let's see. AOC is pushing border policy this week. She is not the only congresswoman, so the title is not unique to that person. Or maybe she's a senator. I forget. I'm not into politics. But anyway, those are the notes that I would glean from that whole process. This is going to be amazing for kids who have extended time because a lot of the time you get time and a half. So what is it, like 27 minutes or whatever, 34 minutes, time and a half is going to be like plus 17, so 51, 52 minutes, something like that. You might only need like 40. So you're not going to have to sit there and wait for 15 minutes for time to expire, which I think is awesome. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for this test in my mind, is not only are some of the things so far looking really good in terms of like actually testing kids' ability to reason and think rather than just being good at a test. Because I don't think, just on the face of this, I don't think there's going to be a way to game this. There's not going to be like, kind of like the current format. A lot of parents, when I get hired to teach their kids, they're like, teach my kid the tricks to get around the test. There is no trick. You just got to get good at the facts. You got to get knowledgeable about the content of it. Same kind of thing going on here. There's nothing to memorize for this. There's no, like, other than the few commas and colons and semicolon stuff, there's nothing you can memorize that will make you good at this test. So let's go ahead and resume. not quite as trivial as the first round of math. I finished this test in an hour and 27. I thought that was a very satisfying test. I found that the language areas were quite useful for college admissions, and they are hopefully going to be sticking to that because I am excited to see what students can do with it. Close that. I'm going to go to my SAT and view my score, see how I did. All right, it's loading up. I missed some. Damn, I must have missed a few. All right, so I got a 1560, not bad for my first try at 10 p.m. in the evening. Let's see the details. I missed 4 in all questions. I missed 1 reading and writing, and I missed 3 math questions. Oh no, I thought it was pretty damn trivial. I thought I aced the math. I'm pretty pleased that I didn't miss a ton of reading and writing, though. I was really worried about it. I was pretty confident with all of those, but there were some that I thought were pretty tricky. The math, missing freaking 3. Which 3? So they were all near the end. So in each module, this is module 1 for the math, there are 27 questions. Okay, module 2, 27 questions again. Okay, so so are these tests the paper linear tests? So I didn't have that question. I didn't have that question. I didn't have that question. So, okay, so the paper tests are a sampling of the possible questions that you can get with the digital tests. They are not comprehensive. Yikes. So there's actually quite a bit of review material here, and I wonder if you can reset and redo these questions. So let's go ahead and do the review right now. And so we're going to review the questions that I'd missed going through this exam. I did 98 total questions and I missed 4 of them, which is pretty good for my first try. Let's take a look at this language question that I missed. Okay, this was a data interpretation question that I did honestly pretty quick compared to what I should have done. I was worried about the time, and I thought perhaps I was going to get this one wrong. So I think I misunderstood the text of the thing here. So let's read it carefully. I'm not going to read their explanation just yet. I want to see if I can come up with my own, which is exactly what students should do when they're reviewing exams. Come up with your own interpretation or explanation as to why the answer is what it is, so that you're strengthening your reasoning abilities. Okay. Over the past 200 years, the percentage of population employed in agriculture has declined in both France and the United States. So agriculture has declined in both. Correct. Employment and service sector has risen. Cool. And that is true. This transition happened at very different rates. So we need to show that it happened at different rates. What I was concerned with is I was looking to show that it actually declined in agriculture and it increased in service. I didn't catch the first time that I read this. I was reading it, but I didn't comprehend that you have to show different rates. By choosing the answer B that I had selected, that actually shows a very similar rate. 64 to 3, 68 to 2, that's very similar. 13 to 18, 14 to 76, that's similar. We need to show different rates. So showing that this is different rates, we need to find the years that aren't as similar in agriculture and services across these two countries. So going with option A, 1900, that's 43 to 32, 41 to 14, that's pretty different. 28 to 35, 31 to 53, again, pretty different. So that's why option A is the best answer, emphasizing that they are happening at different rates. Yeah, I want. Why isn't that the default? It should hide that by default. I'm gonna see if I can give them feedback on the review here that it should hide the correct answer. This should be show correct answer and explanation. It should hide it by default and maybe put it over here to make it more obvious. Because a lot of the kids who are going to score lower on this might not look down there. But anyway, 1900 to 2012, 1900 to 2012. Again, those are similar changes. 1800 to 1900, 18 to 19. Those again are similar changes. So by noticing that one phrase, that they are very different rates, that slam dunks on this question. All right. That's the only reading question that I missed. I wish I could see all the other 50 questions or whatever it is they didn't present to me. My intuition on the first module was that it was pretty trivial, and I guess the first module gauges you to see what the second module might be. That's my speculation, and they gave me the difficult module here. So let's go ahead and review these three that I missed. I missed this one. Oh no. Oh, I gave it one real solution. It needs to have more than one, you freaking idiot. I'm dumb.